Hey everybody, we are Dicey Decisions, and this is our brand spanking new Daggerheart campaign session 0. We're calling this campaign Tales by Pyrelight. It will be set in the Age of Umbra campaign frame from the Daggerheart core rulebook. Super excited to dive into this. We've done several Daggerheart one shots on our channel before, but this is our first time diving into an actual campaign to really take this game system for what it's worth. If you're joining us for the first time, we're a group of friends that have decided to put our love of TTRPGs online for everyone to make fun of us about. Uh, so um, we have two ongoing weekly Dungeons and Dragons campaigns. One is on our Monday night campaign is Zeros to Heroes, run by our buddy Jack, and a group of players doing a very narrative-based D&D campaign set in the world of Taldore from Critical Role. And then our Friday night campaign is called Twist of Fate. We're playing through Planescape's Turn of Fortune's Wheel into Vecna Eve of Ruin, taking the campaign from level 3 all the way to level 20, currently at level 16, I believe. Making
Yep.
our way to the end game of that big giant long campaign, having a lot of fun with that. Um, and we also do one shots. If you join our Discord server at Dicey Decisions RPG Discord, you can get involved with us, and we do one shot games of different game systems, party games, TTRPGs. We also do a series that actually Brandy helped me start called Author Adventures, where we take authors, and that's how we met Nico. Was author We take authors who get to play their literary characters as D&D characters in a one shot. So super excited. We got another one of those in the works. We're gathering the authors now and should happen sometime in February, we
Mhm.
believe will be the next one of those. So, got a lot going on, but we're super excited about this. We've been talking about this for a while. And one of the things I kind of want to point out that we're doing is I have followed the guidance of this lovely book, The Game Master's Guide to Collaborative Campaign Design. Um, it is a really good reference for those who want to build a campaign based around everyone telling the story as opposed to I'm going to read this module as the DM and have the characters the players are playing march through that module, which is perfectly fine way to play. Played lots of TTRPGs that way, but as we explored our one shots of Daggerheart, we started to really feel like this system is a very yes and system, and we enjoy it. I know there's a lot of other systems that Daggerheart has been inspired by that a lot of people play out there that are narrative focused. So, kind of wanting to lean into that possibility of what the system really has to offer as a strength and make it happen uh, about the within the campaign setup. And thus, what it brought us to do was to start a kind of what they recommend in this book is a session -1 is basically start talking about what is the campaign and what are some of the campaign givens uh, of a campaign that you want before anybody decides to put pencil or pen or a keyboard to exercise their character building muscles, actually have everybody talk about what they're interested in doing. And that kind of is what led us into where we're at right now with this session 0. So we won't go back too much of that, but we may reference some of our previous discussions. However, in talking through all this, I do want to take a moment and do some individual introductions. We'll do character introductions as we go along, but for now, as far as player introductions, so I'm Scott. I am the DM of our Friday night D&D campaign, and I've DM'd a bunch of our one shots. and yeah, so you be doing this if you've watched our channel. Um, Otherwise, lifelong gamer. Obviously, you see the wall of memorabilia behind me that I've collected over the years. Big TTRPG fan. So, Brandy, why don't you give us an introduction to you, and then you can shovel it along to someone else.
Hello. I am. I can say it now. I'm married to the GM. I I'm starting a campaign as his wife, not his fiance, which is super cool. I got I got sucked into this
Changes
world
nothing.
by him, um, and quickly found myself as the I say producer, and that's hilarious because I mess it up every week. Um, I run the stream, and I also am a teacher and an author. And yeah, what else? I write books and I play games and I go work with crazy middle schoolers all the time. So this will be my third no, second campaign. I guested in the first one, and I am in Twist of Fate on Friday, and now I'm in this one. So I will toss it over to Nico because Nico comes from Zapwham Pow. That's where we met, and a fellow writer. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm Nikolai. I am a writer. I'm from the Zappa and Pow server. That's how I got here through the Author Adventures, which is super fun. Um, I have yet to finish a draft on a novel yet, but I'm working on it. I play games. This is only my third ever campaign, really. Um, Hopefully, it will be the second one that I finish. Uh, I like games. I like
Hey, you're
books.
you're at
I like
50%. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm here. uh, I like games. I like books. I like old lady hobbies like crochet. I like cats. And I'm super excited about this campaign. I never played a guardian before. I've always done rogues or rangers because I was told they're the easiest thing to do. I decided I was going to do something different this time, and we're going to see how that finds out. Um, Miranda, your turn.
My name is Miranda. I used to do RPG games when I was a kid because I grew up with this huge family of D&D nerds. Hint, hint for anyone who doesn't know, Scott is my father, wherever he is on the screen. Can't remember. But I took a break from role-playing games for a while just as I aged, got more into musical theater. That became my life for a while. Went to college for it. Met the man of my dreams, moved to Atlanta, bought a house, and am currently here as a server and just recently promoted as a bartender, which is super exciting. Whoop, whoop. Um, and I am a board game fanatic and nerd. I could play board games 24/7, back to back to back, as both Scott and Brandy witnessed on our last visit together. And I'm really excited to jump back into RPG. I did one learn how to play with you guys earlier last year at this point. But I'm super excited to get back involved and to bring my creative juices to a fun game format that I'm excited to explore and know not so much about. So I'm excited to learn. And Sean.
Me, last and probably least. Um,
No.
I've been playing tabletop RPGs since I was like 10 or so, since I found my dad's original red box in the closet. So I've been playing since second edition. Have been playing with Scott off and on over the years for probably 20 years now, almost, which
Mhm,
is
mhm,
That's so cool.
wild to say, and
mhm.
it's both Scott and I. But yeah, so yeah, I love all things tabletop role playing and storytelling. really excited about this system to kind of take some of the big collaborative elements and really put them at the forefront. I think that is going to be really exciting. I live with my cat, and my nerd special interest is collecting retro video game systems. So that's what I do in my spare time. So, hi.
Awesome. Well, happy to have you all. This is going to be a fun table. It's a nice eclectic group, which I think fits well with this kind of a game system as well. Super excited about that. And Daggerheart's so new that no one's a full-on expert at it. I recently rewatched the Age of Umbra series that Critical Role put out. I rewatched it just to get back in the flavor of that campaign frame, and I realized that yeah, they were struggling with the rules and figuring stuff out and everything else too. And if the multi-billion-dollar company that is Critical Role can fumble around on the internet, so can we. So I say that in the sense of I want the pressure to be off for anyone to feel like they need to know exactly the rules in exactly the right moment. I don't mind looking something up. And as they state very clearly in the book, it's a relatively rules light system per se. Some might argue that based on other systems that are out there, it's a little more crunchy than that. However, um, it's oriented around rulings, not rules, meaning you come up with an idea of something you want to do, and we find a way to make it happen within the parameters of a die roll, or hey, if it's something your character could just do, then they do it, right? There's not a reason for there to have to be a mechanic for every moment in the game system, especially one like this. So super excited to see where this goes. A whole lot of yes ending, improvisational stuff that'll be happening, and super excited about that. That kind of leads me to where we started when we started talking about um, the possibility of doing this. Once we gathered the interested players, one of the first things I said was, hey, take a look at the campaign frames from the book, because since it's our first time taking a campaign out for a spin, rather than invent our own campaign frame, although I am writing one to come out later. Uh, um, I wanted to use core material, right? First time through, use the material they give you in the book and go from there. So we kind of all looked and ranked the campaign frames that existed in the book, and with an eye on not going too crazy with the difficulty level of some of them that are in there. We landed on the Age of Umbra campaign frame as the most favored one of the group by poll. So that's where we landed, which I'm very excited about. It was my number one choice. So although I voted last because I didn't want everybody to default to the DM, which is such a standard thing to do in the gaming world, and really want to start breaking those habits in a system like this where it's supposed to be all of us creating it. So we kind of dissected the campaign frame a little bit and made sure that the elements that were in the campaign frame were things that we wanted to explore and whatnot. And they talk about there being a pantheon of gods that have walked away. Well, it's not normally that pantheon of gods would either be provided by a source book or created by the DM. That's not how we're doing it. I'm letting the players tell me who these pantheon of gods is as we come across it. That doesn't mean to say I won't throw a goddess from the pantheon in there as well, because that's my collaborative part, right? But I'm not making it my pantheon. As an example, I think that's a really good kind of key to be thinking about how we're going to handle this. So as we're kind of diving in and whatnot, we're building that all together. So we started by coming up with a list of givens. Obviously we're playing this game system Daggerheart. We're playing an Age of Umbra. We decided to use the realm that is existing in the book in their map, although we will be expanding on that map with our own locations as they recommend you do in Daggerheart. So we'll be in the Halcyon domain, and a lot of the key players that are in the campaign frame will be key players in this world. They talked about different organizations that were existing, some that were named and some maybe that weren't, and that we came up with names for and stuff like that. So as we start diving in with the kind of talking a little bit about character choices that people have made up to this point, um, some of that will come up. So I want to give everybody a chance to divulge what they want to about their characters. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that has been private messaged to me that's different from what they've shared to each other publicly, which is so awesome because there's going to be stuff that, comes out about their characters throughout the campaign as it should. Uh, so, um, so, but I've wanted everybody to kind of do a little bit of a character introduction of where you're headed with your characters and what about and how their characters are tying into this world of the Age of Umbra. Anyone want to volunteer to go first?
I can go first. Cool. Um, so my character's name is Loma Ilu, and her nickname's Lo by those who call her Dear. She's around 19 years old, but by her demeanor and her tone and wisdom, I don't think anyone would necessarily assume that, but she does look freshly adult. Um, she is a rogue nightwalker, very stealthy on her feet. At first glance, you see a very skinny, lengthy, but very short half elf, you must assume, because elves are not 4'2". But she's still lengthy and slim, like an elf. She's rather tan with a lot of freckles, also uncommon for most elves. But the freckles tend to be denser towards the center of her body in general and tend to lighten up as you go towards her extremities. Even her ears, the freckles like decrease as it goes up. She wears tight fitting like black clothing, long sleeves, long pants. Over top she has a dark brown cloak that has a slightly lighter brown or tan hued, but not easily noticeable at first glance, design of vines throughout the cloak. She has a head of like very like ringlet curls, very thick moss-like hair that she often has pulled back into like a low ponytail. Um, and she is very warm, and I'm still working on setting an exact voice for her, but um I think honestly it may be very calming and very just sort of matter of fact and almost monotone in this warming, embracive way, even when she's serious, even when she's flustered. But I'm trying to figure out what fits best naturally with her. Um, but she are we going into backstory at all, or are we just
Sure.
doing overview such as that? Okay.
No, you can go
Um,
into it.
yeah. She's of a Wanderborn community in the sense that she is in a hodgepodge group of people. She travels around Orcos, this fort dominion in our world. She travels around like a 3-mile perimeter, constantly shifting and setting up camp, tearing down camp with her what she considers her family. That is her family, although none are blood to her. Um, but very hodgepodge group of people. They work very collaborative with each other. She is on more side of the stealth team of things. She's the one who looks out for where they should set up camp and how, and she's the one who will go into town. They stay in the perimeter so that if need be, she can go into town for any necessities that they can't scavenge off the land and just live off of. But although she lives completely in the wild, in the swamp around Orcos, she is incredibly clean. You will notice. She keeps herself very, very presentable, not done up by any means. There's no sign of makeup. There's no sign of um, anything fancy other than a handmade, nicely crafted, darkened vine belt that holds her two daggers that are slightly curved, and she has a necklace made out of simple like brass or copper like wire, not even a chain, just wire that wraps around I believe it's called a moldavite stone. It's a dark green, very similar to the hue of her eyes. Um, but other than that, she is pretty simple, plain, can come off as any economic status. And for now, I think that's what I'm going to share.
Awesome.
And I will pass it to Sean.
Okay, so I am playing Olathander Ollie Dern. Um, so I was really interested as far as this anybody character is concerned. Ollie is probably most clocked as a bard, as a wordsmith bard. He is a relative newcomer to our fort of Okros and has sort of arrived with a traveling party from a place called the Shulk Chasm, which has recently been opened up and is sort of the site of a lot of archaeological digs. So he has arrived in town and is sort of making his living as a bookkeeper and as a tinker and just sort of doing odd jobs around town generally as sort of a learned person, maybe not as good with hard labor as he would be with other jobs. He does look as though he is maybe a little bit soft around the edges, as though he's maybe spent most of his life in a library. Um, he dresses very plainly, but in very nice fabrics. The cut and sort of dyes, the techniques sort of used to make his clothing almost seem antiquated, as though they had not sort of changed over the last several generations since the departure of the gods and sort of the apocalypse that happened here. Um, so what that means is the Shulk Chasm recently being uncovered is actually the home of an enclave of ether weavers who have been there in underborn community and have been surviving there, sort of essentially cut off from the rest of the world since the apocalypse. And he is actually a very powerful ether weaver. He is actually a school of knowledge wizard is the class that I've chosen. But in this world, ether weaving is linked very closely to the departure of the gods and sort of the hubris and the downfall of the god king. So magic users are looked on with a lot of suspicion and fear. And so he has not been practicing since he has gone out into the world to essentially figure out what the heck has gone on since his community has been cut off from the outside world. They have sent emissaries in each of the 8 cardinal directions, sort of looking for information and trying to figure out kind of where the world lies in this new place. So he has come to Okros looking for really a way to get on to the next town, and also really to kind of gather some information about what has happened in the world since his community has been cut off. He sort of walks with a bit of a limp, is often seen with a sort of long, gnarled, very gray staff. He is very ashen pale, as befitting someone who has spent most of their life below the ground. His, his features are, his eyes are very pale, almost iron gray. His hair is a little bit thin, and mousy, kind of, almost colorless, right? Like you would expect from a society of folks who, again, have not seen the sun for a very, very long time. And yeah, so that's Ollie. So I was really interested in the idea of having really, really being very powerful, but also being sort of very scared to sort of exercise that, and sort of being judged for sort of something that comes naturally to you. I thought that's a really interesting thing to explore. And I guess I will turn it over to Nico there next to me.
All right, so I will be playing Dazin Evanlock, a Orderborn Infernus Guardian. They have a stalwart foundation, a very strong will, unyielding in their beliefs that the domain can be taken back and restored to what it was before the gods abandoned everybody, and that the Umbra can be defeated or cleansed or something. Dazin grew up with the Celsians of the Amber Reach and was trained from a very young age in the known ways to fight back against the Revenants, those corrupted by the soul blight of because the Umbra. They've been warned against the zealots that follow the veiled gods, the broken emissaries, and the Damask queens and their factions. They don't trust people very easily ever since they've left their home community. And for the past few years, they've wandered about the domain acting as a bodyguard for various traveling parties, merchants, smaller communities that needed help, before finally settling down in Okros and living as basically a town guard. At a glance, they're a pretty intimidating person. They have a battle axe that they keep with them at all times. They're nearly 7 feet tall, with long, curling horns and a fairly muscular physique. They also have a very bad habit of just kind of standing menacingly in a corner and watching everybody. They don't talk a whole lot to anyone. Their skin is a deep purple that gives many people pause because it fades into a black towards their hands, the tips of their ears, their horns, and it gives people pause thinking they might be corrupted by soulblight. They're not. They typically hide it with their chainmail armor and leather gloves that they keep in as good of condition as they can afford, but it's a bit dented and scuffed from helping people survive the domain. They have a long arrow-headed tail that they typically keep tightly wrapped around their hips, though they will use it to grab things or smack a companion if they need to. Their hair is a softer shade of purple, kept long and neat, usually in a braid or ponytail, and they have silvery eyes that are very watchful and a lot kinder than most people might think them to be. I'm super excited to play a Guardian. I'm usually not the tank of a group. This is going to be interesting for me. Brandy, your turn.
All right. Helps if I unmute myself. I caught it before I didn't get halfway through what I was saying. Yay! It's because I'm so professional. Um, I am going to be playing Orave. It's just Orave because, according to her mother, her father wasn't worth his name, so she didn't get it. She's just Orave. She is mixed ancestry. Her mother is a Qatari, and she is a very high-ranking member of the Damask Queens. She was born in Amber Reach and raised there, and she always said she had to keep her neck was nearly broken for always having to look over her shoulder to watch her back. Because even if you are aligned with somebody in power, it's temporary and you never know what's going to happen. Um, she's a wayfinder ranger, and while she was raised in the Damask Queens, she really is looking to help end their sort of reign of terror in the city. She knows what they can do. She doesn't want any part of it, but she also is acutely aware that actually separating from them could actually be her ruin. So she's trying to maintain the balance between where she's from and where she wants to be. She comes in and out of Okros as kind of a, I'm not going to say a traitor, but she can get things that are in the city for people. No one really has asked how, and she likes to keep it that way. Nobody really knows that she has such deep ties to the Damask Queens, um, but she's trying to get a foothold in the community and get people to trust her because she genuinely wants to help, but knows that where she's from could be an instant turn off and they wouldn't want anything to do with her. Um, she is half Qatari and half Infernus. Her father was an Infernus, who actually is now a Revenant. According to her mother, she said, I always thought him vile. The only difference now is that his vileness is undisputable. So he is dead to her.
That's a cold line, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
I just have to say that is
You
a
should write a
very
book
No,
or
cold.
it's
something about
great.
it.
It's
Thank you.
great.
Um, she, she's tall, probably around 5'10". She's lithe, not stocky, kind of wiry. She's got the silky fine black coat that she inherited from her mother, um, but that's shot with pale, kind of violet streaks, kind of hearkening to that Infernus background that she has. And her eyes are also violet, but they have little tiny flecks of this deep blood red. Um, and her ears are tufted with a brighter violet and blood red in them as well. But she also has 5 little horns, and they're almost set in a crown shape in front of her ears, but you don't really notice them because her ears are pretty fancy looking. Um, she has extra long fangs, but they're really fine and delicate. Um, you can't really see them all the time, but when she's relaxed, you can kind of see them peeking out a little bit. And she does have a tail, but it actually leans a little more toward an Infernus tail rather than a floofy tail. It's more kind of a panther-esque dark black tail. She wears black tooled leather armor. She's also, but it's hodgepodge in kind of the coolest way. Like this is a bracer. She has one bracer and like a vest, but then it's kind of cobbled together, but kind of in a cool way, I guess. I don't know. It's very piratey maybe. Um, she carries a short bow, which is made of black rowan, and a whip. She wears a whip at her hip, and she fidgets with it. She's got a nervous habit of fidgeting with it. And she has retractable claws. She wears no shoes because claws, and she talks to herself a lot. She also tries to keep to herself. She's afraid of giving away things that might be a tell of where she comes from and who she really knows because she really doesn't want anyone to know who she really knows. So she kind of likes to hang back, but she does have a weird habit of mumbling and talking to herself, which is part of why she kind of stays away. Um, but people put up with her in Okros because she can get some things. She can get books from the big library. She's pretty stealthy. You almost would think she's a rogue, but she's not. It's kind of a byproduct of how she grew up. Um, but she can get all kinds of things. All kinds of things. She's like that guy. So that's Orave. She goes by Aura. Only her mother calls her Orave when she's in trouble, which is often.
All right, excellent. Um, that's great. These folks have been working real hard on these and these backstories. I'm super excited to spin these characters out into the Halcyon domain. This will be set. The kind of just a couple brief bullet points about an Age of Umbra campaign frame campaign is this is a situation where the gods were ultimately um, uh, have given up on this place. They have left. It's a bit of a mystery as to the exact reasoning why. There are different theories and different organizations trying to either keep them gone or bring them back or figure out what happened, where they might have gone to, etc., etc. But what it has resulted in is that death now comes at an even greater price than before. And those that succumb to death are taken by the Umbra and become the creatures that haunt these lands. Um, that being said, this has happened to all types of creatures, beasts and humanoids alike. Therefore, there is a lot of danger in the world. The safe havens, where we got the inspiration for the name of our um, campaign, is the uh, being near a um, pyre, and being near one of the sacred pyres provides safety where the effects of the umbra are lessened and the safety of the town, of the surrounding areas near these glowing sacred pyres are where civilization has been able to somewhat regroup or begin to regroup. There are different pockets of safety in a very unsafe world. Uh, for flavor of the campaign, we all agreed that we wanted to play a kind of survival horror campaign. So that's what this is going to be. Things are not going to be easy, things are going to be hard, and survival is on everyone's mind every day. And it's going to be that style of campaign because that's what this campaign frame really led us uh, to all of us to kind of think about, like, what we see happening in a world like this. Um, Obviously, we've gone a little bit deeper into that with some goals and character goals and things that different characters are looking for, and some of which has been shared as a group and possibly even discussed just now, but some of which are more private uh, and personal for these characters that will come out in gameplay. So excited to see all of those things kind of pop out as far as that goes. I wanted to take a quick moment for everybody to see if there was any character creation, lingering questions. Currently, we are using Demiplane to do our character building. Eventually, we will transition to Fantasy Grounds once the Fantasy Grounds
Friend of the stream.
gets the friend of the stream, right?
Friend of the stream,
Uh,
please.
that's
Sorry,
right.
I've heard it so many times.
Yep. Friend of the stream, Fantasy Grounds. Once they get the official go ahead, they are in development of their Daggerheart um, product for Fantasy Grounds. We will be using it. So in the meantime, we'll be cobbling together stuff as needed with other programs, but our intent will be to use Fantasy Grounds when it comes out. For that, for now, characters are created on Demiplane, and I just want to make sure that no one's struggling with, I didn't fill this part out, or I didn't know what this meant, or why does my why does my evasion score look so low or whatever, anything like that. So I just wanted to take a business moment to make sure everybody's good with their character choices if there's any had.
Why does my evasion score look so low? No, I know why. It's because I'm bad at evading.
Well, and sometimes it's literally like, if purchased armor but didn't activate it on the right tab, your scores are low or your number of armor slots aren't there or whatever. So sometimes it's just a bookkeeping thing as far as that goes for characters. Um, I'm pulling open one here real quick just to make sure I've checked all those kind of boxes um, as far as that goes. Um, Again, everyone here has played a bit of Daggerheart, but going through a little bit of the rules, this is a 2d12 system where you're rolling a hope and a fear dice, and result is either a success or a failure with either hope or fear, or a fifth option, which is a critical success. Um, so, so those two dice are always what you roll for which are called your duality dice. And the hope and fear mechanic plays a lot into um, how the game runs, but also into the campaign frame mechanic as well, because uh, you can only imagine a world that's set up like this one, where the gods have forsaken it, where hope is hard to come by and fear is kind of prevalent. So uh, those are the kind of things that come up. Um, is there anything anybody has character sheet question wise now that you've had to look? I kind of threw this at you guys.
I don't think so.
Not specifically character
Mm.
sheet wise. There was one thing in general, and if you want to get to it later, that's also fine too. But just about I know in our last discussion we discussed about whether or not we wanted the Umbra Touch to be a physical thing. That's not the right phrase, but the Soul Light to be a physical
Mhm.
thing. And is it something that I wanted clarification on? Does it stereotypically grow? Does it stereotypically darken? Or is it all hearsay? Nobody knows. Everybody had different experiences from what they've witnessed. It's not always the same. That was just something I was curious about, world setting wise.
Yeah, I think that's a good question to ask. Obviously, once the once the character has taken had to mark off based if they've taken enough scars that they've had to mark off uh, their last hit point, they become or the last hope slot. Sorry, when they taken off their last hope slot with the scar, instead of retiring as what would happen to a normal adventure in a normal Daggerheart campaign, this campaign frame has them be taken by the Umbra. And the question really becomes is this something that we see happening to them? And do we want it to manifest in a specific way? Um, what do you guys think? Is there anybody who has strong thoughts or opinions on that?
No. I will say that I kind of pictured it like an infection or like a snake bite, like slowly kind of like moving its way towards your heart kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Like out from your extremities. But that was just kind of the way I had it pictured.
I like that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. That you have it and it's uncomfortable because it's a visual reminder of where you're at in the process.
Yep. And
Yeah.
Hmm.
yeah. Mhm.
I think
Also, I
having it
think it makes
manifest in a dark way as opposed to, something that you are, you know, uh, whether there's a visual, like you can see, you know, the veins in your body become more prevalent through the surface of your skin, or whether it's something that's more an internal glow or anything like that. I think it can be more than one thing. It doesn't have to be the same, but I think it should have a same nefarious look and feel in that regard. So if how you're affected based on your character's ancestry is slightly different than someone else's ancestry, it would still look like the Umbra, right? It would still look like the Umbra, but it might manifest differently for a human than it would for a Qatari.
Hmm.
I could see that for sure.
And it also makes sense why like Hazen might want to hide their hands if
Yeah.
that kind of matches the
They go to
aesthetic.
wash their hands, people are staring at them. No, I'm fine, I swear, it's just my
Yeah,
skin.
no, it's good. It's good. It's good. Don't worry about it. It's not that. It's something else entirely. It's
I was
Well,
born
totally
this way, I'm
normal.
sorry.
I
yeah,
swear.
and I mean, even in some backstories, there's discussion of like there being societies who are like watching people as they get closer to it and limiting what freedoms those people have because they're closer to evil,
Hmm.
right? That's a super cool dynamic. I think that's going to be interesting to play with as well. So
Can
they're
I ask a
definitely,
question about the
yeah,
mechanics of it?
yeah.
When you get a scar, and hence in this world are closer or more touched by the Umbra, is it already rewritten? Is it already written in the rules that you become a little bit more evil, quote unquote? Is it something that starts to like twist your moral compass, or is it just I haven't read into what the scars are, and maybe that's something I need to do in my own time. What have you to better understand? But
So I think the again a lot of Daggerheart's rulings and mechanics are left open narratively. So the mechanic of taking a scar is if you take a scar as part of losing your last hit point in a battle or whatever and choosing to take a scar, you know we can go into the mechanics of all the death moves you have choices to make and things like that. However, if you choose to take a scar, um, what that does is that blocks off one of your hope slots. So normally you start the campaign with 6 hope slots, so you would permanently block off a hope slot, which means
okay.
your maximum is now 5. Your maximum the next time that happens is now 4. So you are slowly losing hope. What Age of Umbra says is that's manifesting as the influence of the Umbra. So in a normal Daggerheart campaign, you're just losing hope. In Age of Umbra, the Umbra, you are starting to succumb to the Umbra's influence, uh, and eventually you will, when you lose all hope, charge. And this is their wording: charge forever into the dark to join the terrors that stalk the lightless spaces. You are converted to a revenant. You are then mine.
What
You're no longer your character, right? Um, so what that means is how you want to play taking a scar, I think is still up for debate of how your character would handle feeling that change,
I think
right?
that's going to be a very individual thing. I think that there are some people that would begin to panic,
Sure,
and then there are some people that would begin to anger.
sure.
I think that's kind of what makes that cool, that every character is going to have a different approach to what
Different trauma
happens.
response, for lack of a
Yeah.
better.
No, exactly. Exactly.
And I think you hit the nail on the head with the right kind of word, like calling it a trauma response, because it is traumatic. It
Hmm.
should feel traumatic,
Yeah.
right? If you know, if even in I don't want to go into the state of the world we're in right now, but I feel like I took a scar this week. I'll just say that, you know,
Hmm.
I feel like I took a scar this week. right? I feel like my hope is a little lessened, it's a little dimmed. Uh, and how I choose to react to that, you know, makes sense to me. I think it can manifest however the player wants, uh, because I think that will be an interesting journey, regardless of which way it is. If it means you start to act more evil and you want to explore that with your character's journey, that's a very viable choice. If you want to get more reckless,
Hmm.
right? Or
Mhm.
more cautious, or
Cool.
like it could be 1,000. So it doesn't have to be one way. There's not one way to react to that.
Cool.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think it'll be more interesting if it's 4 different ways,
Yeah. No,
in
that's
this
what I
regard.
was thinking. Like that makes it such a more dynamic.
Right.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Any other notes on that as far as that goes? I know we talked about backstories. I do want to get into doing character connections, which is one of my favorite parts of character creation in Daggerheart, is the character connections. And in Demiplane, if you clicked on your character sheet at the first page and made sure that you listed it as an Age of Umbra character, it might flavor your questions possibly a little differently that pop up on your character sheet. Um,
For me, it added some background
Hmm.
questions, but it didn't add any character connection questions that were
okay,
specific to Umbra.
okay. So the wonderful thing about Daggerheart is it has kind of allow the players themselves to figure out how they all know each other and how and or some commonality between uh, um, their backstories and or experience up until this point. Um, and now that we've kind of gone through and looked at some of that um, in terms of their character, I believe it gives you 3 questions.
Hmm.
And these are questions meant for you to ask of a relationship between you and one of the other players. So, conveniently enough, you have 3 other players you can ask questions of. So, if you want to be kind of looking over those and think of which one based on the questions in front of you and the character backgrounds you have, do any of them fit and are appropriate for you to ask of the other person? Or do you want to come up with your own question, which is perfectly fine also to pose to somebody about your relationship with them? And this is meant to be a yes and exercise. Like, so if I was playing and I asked Brandy a question, she could give an answer and I could say, yeah, and that would make me do
Hmm.
this in that situation. So now we have a common ground of how we treat each other in that moment or when those moments arise or whatever the question pertained to. So it's meant to be a little bit of a back and forth. And I want to make sure we do that as part of tonight because that will seed into us starting as a cohesive group or maybe dysfunctionally cohesive group, depending on how these questions go. So does anybody have one off the bat that they're like, oh yeah, I'm dying to ask this of that character?
So I do actually. So I'm just kind of listening to all of the stories, right? And Ollie is sort of, we're all a little bit sort of on that fringe a little bit, but everybody else is sort of part of the fabric of Okros except for Ollie, right? He's really only been in town for a few months. He's sort of getting to know people, and really, he's come here with a traveling party and he's kind of looking for another traveling party. And there's one person here who has functioned as a caravan guard very frequently. and who is probably very tired of Ollie pestering them every evening in the tavern to help them out. So, my question is, what favor have I asked of you that you are not sure that you can fulfill?
Ooh.
You consistently ask me to take you to the most dangerous parts of the domain so that you can see how things truly are. Getting real tired of it. Can't do that with only 2 people, Ollie. And also, they need me here.
And I do suppose that my relative lack of athletic ability is probably a bit of a, how we say, a sticker.
Oh
But
no,
I think we
definitely
can do
not.
it. I really do.
No.
All right, I like that a
Excellent.
lot.
Excellent.
Constantly
I have one
asking
as
to
well
be
for
taken
Dazen as
on.
well, because when I heard it, to me, you make the most sense of who I would have happenstance bumped into in my semi-stealthy entrance and exits out of Orcos over the years. I'm not one to dilly-dally or experience the city, so I don't know how much I would know either of the other two, depending on how much they're around the city, around the outskirts. But I feel like for you, there may have been a situation where you either caught me trying to sneak in, whether there was a time where they weren't allowing people in, or I was trying not to get, you know, formally documented as coming in and out. And I feel like that could be a fun connection from our past. And if so, my question to you would be, what have I discovered about your past that I keep secret from the others and hence makes you less eager to just rat me out to
Ah.
those above you?
You know the circumstances as to why I left the Amber Reach. I did not
Okay.
leave. I was exiled. And you
You
know
said the Amber
why.
Reach?
Yeah.
Okay. We can discuss and I will find that out. And I will probably tell you something about me.
Oh, fun times.
I have one. And this one is for Loma. Why do you act differently when we're alone than when others are around?
Ooh.
Ooh. Why do I act differently when we're alone than when others are around? I think between me and you specifically, one of my sisters is Qatari. And I think that simple physical recognition automatically makes me much more mothering to you when we're alone, when we're in smaller settings, um, because that's when I would be most protective of my sister. But when we're in more public settings, I don't think I feel as comfortable uh, asserting dominance over anyone. Not that it's dominance; it's more just protective and hyper concern.
And or
Um,
Orve doesn't want you to know that it feels very nice that someone wants to protect her, even though she's certain she's got a couple of years on you. She's just not gonna, not by much. We're really close in age, I think, but she probably doesn't want to let on that it's really really cool when somebody like looks out for you, because she did not have that ever growing up.
Oh no.
I like it.
Very cool.
I have one for Aura.
Yes.
So, as stated, Zin does not trust basically anybody, but especially is wary of those with any ties to the Damask Queens. However, what lie have you told me about yourself that I absolutely believe?
What a great question.
Yes.
Dang. Oh man, that is awesome.
Yeah, that's a
I
great
I've worked really, really, really hard to make sure nobody knows that I have a connection there. Really, really hard. And I have managed to convince you that while I was born and raised in the shadow of the queens, I do not have actual connections. I know all about them. I know who they are. I know where they operate. But I was outside of that. I know a lot about them, but I'm not connected at all whatsoever.
That comes out, that's gonna be a great source of I'm gonna fucking kill you.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic.
But I back it up. It seems plausible though because I'm able to get like books out of the Great Library. I'm able to get stuff that you would think the queens would not have access to. So yeah.
Awesome.
down the line, I would presume once I get to know Ollie better, I think just a question that would be interesting for me, connection wise, to understand now, I guess, is how do you feel about your use of magic? And I sort of want you to interpret that as
Um, I think it's great. I think that, I mean, so magic has kept the Pyrelite for generations underground. Magic has kept us safe from the shadows in the dark. Magic has kept the Umbra away, right? Um, I don't, not really understanding exactly what happened with the castigation, with the departure of the gods. Like, we were sealed in for, for as long as kind of that has been going on. So without any sort of specific information about that, what my character really knows about magic or ether we even feels about it is that it's probably the only, it's like the anti-Umbra, right? Like, it is sort of the antithesis of, if the Umbra is corruption and darkness and decay, the ether weave is connection and light, and sort of binds everybody together. So he is very pro it. Is very sad that a lot of people are very suspicious and concerned by it. Thinks that, I mean, the pyres are magic. I mean, at least the remnants of the gods in some ways, right? Like, so I don't know. So yeah, he is very optimistic about it, and is very troubled and concerned, and actually kind of considers the suspicion and fear part of the overall just sort of sickness that is like permeating the land. Um, but if you asked him in the tavern today, he ether whatting? I'm sorry, I don't have any idea what you mean.
yeah, because Loma is very comfortable around magic. She has very influential people from her past very closely tied to magic, but they also very, very acutely warned her of people who wield it and um, making sure that if anyone does have that power, that they use it for good and not the immense evils and wrongdoings that it can be used for. Um, so she's always hesitant yet comforted by magic. And she's sort of mesmerized by the use of it in general, but has been had ingrained in her that it is something you have to be suspicious of to a degree.
That makes sense. So if you are from your past then sort of familiar with ether weaving, like closely, sort of in that kind of a way, it might, it may not all the way click, but a lone traveler with a limp from the Shalk Chasm arrived in Okros
Made it.
and
He made
survived the wilderness between point A and point B with a traveling
all
party.
suspicious. Yeah, heard.
So do with that information as you will.
Dazen, Zen, can I call you Zen?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like we're got a little buddy action going on a little bit, even though I'm bull-faced lying to you. What friendly competition do you and I have? I feel like we have this friendly competition because of our shared Infernus background, though I'm not openly like embracing it. I'm hoping people don't notice my little horns and my extra long teeth and my purple and pink or red, but um I feel that kind of connection to you because of that Infernus. And what kind of competition do we have between the two of us?
Ooh.
Friendly
So
competition.
I'm a guardian and you're a ranger, but I decided to pick a small little, not quite fight, but just kind of goofing around, say, who has the better aim but throwing with our tails?
Ah, nice.
Try and get you a little more comfortable with your Infernus heritage, make sure that you can do all the fun tricks that come with having a tail that can maneuver and hold things.
Prehensile tail. Yeah, it's got its advantages. I'm leaning
And
into it. I'm kind of
You're getting
enjoying
there.
it. Yeah, yeah.
the Nightcrawler competitions. Yeah.
Everybody loves the fuzzy dude.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Everybody loves a fuzzy dude. That's true. Especially a very, very soft and polite fuzzy dude.
Yes.
Okay, so Brandy, I have one for you. So
Okay.
again, so Ollie sort of being a tinkerer, a doer of odd jobs, and also a collector of information and literature, has likely come to you a few times to maybe get some things that nobody else can get, like a book here,
Mhm.
a trinket there, something to fix something with here, right?
Yeah.
So just kind of in our interactions, I assume that we're probably not close, but sort of vaguely friendly, or at least sort of known to one another. So sort of in that vein, just to kind of cement that sort of casual acquaintance bond a little bit, what weird hobby or strange fascination do we both share?
Um I am absolutely mesmerized with, and there are more than one type where we are, and because they don't, they're not in the Amber Reach, but the little dragonflies and bugs that light up, like I'm really fascinated by the different types that there are, and I've almost been trying to quietly catalog by light, the luminescent color and the size, and it seems very academic, which is very not me. But I have confided in you because you want books all the time, so I know that you're like a smart guy. And so I finally asked you about it only to discover that you had, in your travels through the wilderness to get there, you had noticed it too, and you had taken a lot better note of it, but I was so excited to know that you were as fascinated with studying these little insects, or and we've discovered that it's not just insects, but that's what's cool. But I've never seen them before until I left Amber Reach, so
Right. So little creatures of bioluminescence. I'm super into this. And actually, so Ollie is only good at tinkering because there is a wizard ability called Prestidigitation that allows you to do very, very basic things like change something's color, fix very small objects, do things of that nature. And so he swears up and down that this is mechanical, but on your last visit, Ollie has made you a little bug that lights up different colors, and it is absolutely 100% magic. And he has never, it's the only bit of magic that he has done since leaving his
yeah,
enclave.
and she is like that's prized possession numero uno. And she really is annoying you though, because when she goes into to take things, anytime she can find books or literature or anything that might have something to do with it, she's constantly sort of shoving it under your nose. Will this help? Do you need this? Is this good? And it's getting annoying. So, in the best way, but
Yeah, I like it.
cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's very difficult, Miranda, I don't know that our characters really know each other all that well. Like, if you don't really come into town, I have not really left in the last couple of months. I am a small soft
No.
boy that should not leave the comfort of the inn.
Yeah,
So
and I do not come often. And then when I do, it is stealth and stealing and taking what I need and running. So I don't think we would know each other, but I think there's fun trepidation that can build with the fact that you are the largest source, at least known at the moment, of magic wielding within the group.
unknown, very unknown, but
Yes,
yes.
not known, but
Yes,
eventually once we start traveling together, unless somebody else goes, ha ha.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with you all deciding that there is no connection yet.
yeah,
That's
Yeah.
fine. Because if it doesn't make sense with the circles you would have traveled in, as long as someone's connected to each of you that will can help you
yeah.
connect to each other, that's perfectly fine.
Oh, that's
Because I
nice.
like
So
the idea that, Sean, you're looking for a partying group. You know the guard. The guard knows me. You know,
Right.
it can branch into, our beautiful Qatari friend, getting used to the names. Aura?
Aura,
What you
yeah.
go by?
Aura,
Yeah.
Aura. And what have you, and it's this hodgepodge weird group. I don't know if I've per se know Aura before either. It could be something of like I've seen you and I was intrigued because it was another Qatari and I have I don't know how many there are in Orcos, but it's relevant in my personal life outside of Orcos in my tiny little bubble. But I don't know if we would per se have actually had a conversation prior to.
Right. Or Aura,
I don't have any idea.
it seems natural that Aura would have connected with everybody only because of the nature of what she does in order to, because she goes in to fetch and do things, she's like the guy. And so everybody needs something from the guy at some point. And so she has touched many different people in Okros, so that would seem natural for her to not to really know
Yeah, so
not to
maybe
really know anybody well, but at least know of.
yeah.
And yeah, and I feel like for Zin, and I'm probably very well known to Zin, but probably not the other way around, right? Like, I have been just pestering them constantly, like, please, hey, hey, please.
Yeah. Speaking of that, the event that unfortunately made me catch your notice. How did I save your life the first time we met?
Uh,
And forever
well,
gained a little buddy.
It's like over the hedge. I saved the deer. Now it won't go away.
yeah, that's
Not over the
so.
hedge. What's it called?
Open
Wrong
season.
movie.
Open season.
That one. Yeah.
Yes.
It's still animals. I was in the ballpark.
Oh,
You were
yes.
close.
Some would argue interchangeable.
So, so I've watched The Princess Bride way too recently, so I'm sort of picturing like I'm taking a lot of inspiration from like Inigo Montoya when I'm like designing the
yes.
personality of Ollie, just sort of like that unnecessarily optimistic, even when like nothing calls for it, kind of a just very kind of a person. And so again, just sort of being very new to Okros, not really kind of understanding the way things sort of work around here. You found me just sort of half submerged in some swamp. Some of umbra tainted vines had started basically slowly swallowing me, and I didn't notice because I was very busy cataloging many of the insects and other kind of things in the very near area, and actually studying the effect of the umbra on some of the creatures around the area, and just didn't got so engrossed that I did not notice that I was partially consumed by some very angry vines. You being the shall we say observant guardian that you are, kind of clocked the idiot wandering out of the settlement by himself, followed him, and were on hand to sort of pull me out of there, and I have just been so very thankful for that ever since.
I've
Nice.
regretted it ever since.
Mhm.
Yeah, I imagine that is probably true.
Just a little
Um,
bit.
I also like the fact that you are hyper optimistic. I think over time, you and Loma will bond because Loma tends to try to find enjoyment in the simple things that we can amongst this really dark world and tries to make space, even if in brief moments, for that pause or joy or whatever it is. That's very important to her. So I like that. Good to know.
I thought I like I said I was always gonna do Inigo Montoya like voice, but then I was like that kind of gets a little too close to caricature. Like I'm not sure I necessarily want to try like putting on a Spanish accent, so kind of avoid that. But yeah, so that's kind of where my head is when I'm kind of thinking about Ollie. I am thinking about Inigo Montoya.
That's great.
I realized like halfway through kind of discussing this, I'm like, I watched The Princess Bride way too recently because Ollie is just Inigo Montoya. Like, okay, I get it now.
That's amazing.
All right. Has anybody got any other? Again, you're not forced to have more, and this is not the last time we can take a trip down memory lane, right? Like at any time during the story, we could flash back to a question one of you want to ask of the other one from your past. That's kind of the cool nature of this, right?
Hmm.
Or it could come up in RP, live as well, or come up in discussion. And I want to kind of encourage these relationships to become what you all feel they need to and want them to become as we go through all of this, and you are in the driver's seat on those together collectively on those as far as that goes. Um, as far as and on that same token, um, I will be culling through the back story material that you guys sent and coming up with any of the named NPCs, and I might be pinging you to talk about like, all right, I want to kind of build a persona for you to interact with if this person is still in your life or shows back up in your life. So, you know, we'll do a little back and forth so that I can try to portray that person how you envisioned them, but then they also become a NPC for me to, inhabit and play with you guys, as far as that goes. There'll be obviously, many myriad of other NPCs that you interact with that aren't part of your backstories, but that are part of the current story. But I also
Okay.
want to make sure that, like, I don't start playing your mother a completely different way than you envisioned your mother,
Hmm.
you know? So if you named anyone in your backstory or come up with a part of your backstory that is evolving, because again, these are not, you know, you've written a bunch of great stuff, but you haven't told me every moment of your character's past. Something can come up and your backstory can continue to grow just as your current story grows. Um, so just want you to know that those kind of I'll be looking for some of those, hints from you all to help connect to your story as things go along. Everybody good?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think so.
Awesome. All right. Well, this is kind of where I wanted to make sure to tonight. Make sure that we were set for. This is hopefully going to be a bi-weekly game. We might be a little rocky on which week we're starting, or we might sub out certain weeks. It'll always be a Tuesday night, but we're going to try to get into a rotation where it's every other Tuesday, and stays pretty as consistent as possible. Obviously, life happens, work happens. I've already know a couple of Tuesdays in the future that will be no good for me, as do some other folks with travel plans and such. But we will make whatever adjustments work as we can. I'm super excited to start this. I'm glad we got to do this part of it, because I think this is where it starts to actually feel more real. It's not just my character I put on a piece of paper. Now it's, we're discussing everything, um, and you're beginning to make those connections. And again, I encourage us to keep those brainstorming things open and for terms of how characters are connected with one another. Uh, Obviously, how people respond to different events in game will obviously help build the relationship as well. Do you guys have anything else?
I don't think so. This is
No.
just this has been good because I've learned things about my character that I had not fleshed out yet, and just the interplay. This is one of my favorite parts of this system. And maybe that's the writer in me developing story and that kind of interaction, but it's like it's so cool.
There's something about a character like becoming three-dimensional, as
Hmm.
you know what I mean, and like so writer, you kind of like work that out like within the story, but on the tabletop you kind of work that out in your interactions with other people as you think, well,
Yeah.
how would I respond in this situation if I have all of this stuff that I'm thinking about going on in my head? And
Hmm.
it gets like there's some cool emergent stuff that happens. Like, yeah, I really like kind of getting to know my character and sort of like through my interactions with other people.
Hmm.
Mm.
And this is where we
It's
plug
like in
author
real life.
adventures. Okay.
Right. Right. All right. Well, if everybody's good, then we will take this to our first official episode, hopefully in 2 weeks, but we will make announcements just to be sure once we solidify our schedule. And the last thing I'm going to leave the players with is the last thing I had mentioned to you guys before. It's just something to think about. Is what does your character see when they stare into the inky void of night for too long? And that's where we'll end tonight's session 0.
Yay.
All right, we are Dicey Decisions. This is the beginning Tales of Pyrelight Daggerheart campaign. Super excited. Thank you all, and thank you all for being such giving players at the get-go with your backstories and everything you've shared with me privately, in addition to what you're sharing with each other here. Super excited for the feel and flavor of this, and can't wait to scare the pants off you all.
Great.
All
Don't
right.
forget we have a big couch. So
I know we have a big couch. I know. And I will be on it, I'm sure. All right. Good night, everybody.
Bye.